The sun was low in the alien sky, painting the horizon with soft shades of gold and purple. The playground was alive with laughter, children of different alien families running, jumping, and chasing each other across the dusty ground. Their voices rang out like bells, sharp and full of joy but away from the noise. Near the shadow of a broken wall stood a small alien girl. Her skin was pale blue, her dark eyes heavy with silence. She watched the others play with a longing that she tried to hide. Her hands held together tightly as if holding her own sadness inside. She had no ball to throw, no rope to jump, no friends to call her name. The others ran in circles, shouting, smiling, their strange alien games filling the air. She only watched, standing still, like a statue forgotten at the edge of the park. Her name was Lyra, but no one called her that here. To them, she was only the quiet one, the useless one, the girl who did not belong. The children whispered and laughed whenever her eyes met theirs, and so she learned to lower her gaze. To make herself smaller, still her heart wanted what theirs had. She wanted to laugh, to play, to be part of their world. Yet every time she stepped forward, she was pushed back by cruel words. Her small feet carried her only as far as the wall. No further that day, the air was warmer than usual. The colony's generators hummed in the distance, and the smell of baked grain floated from the market. The children did not notice her at all, but Lyra noticed everything, every smile, every cheer, every sound of joy that she could not touch. She bit her lip and held back tears. She knew tears made the others laugh even harder. She had learned to stay silent, silent like the wall she leaned on, silent like the shadow that covered her small figure. Then something changed. Among the crowd of busy workers passing near the playground, one figure stopped. It was taller, broader. Different from the others, it was a human. The man carried a small bag over his shoulder. His clothes were plain, his face tired from work. He had come to the colony only weeks ago. No one paid him much attention. To most aliens, humans were strange, simple creatures, useful only for heavy labor. But his eyes were kind, and on that day his eyes fell on the lonely girl by the wall. He saw her standing apart, her gaze locked on the other children. He saw the way her shoulders sank, the way she held herself as if afraid of being seen. Something stirred inside him, a quiet feeling that pulled his steps toward her. Lyra noticed. Her breath caught. She was used to being ignored, to being invisible. But now someone was looking straight at her. A human. She froze, unsure whether to hide or run. The man did not speak at first. He only gave a gentle nod, a small smile. It was not loud, not mocking, not cruel, just soft, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Lyra looked away quickly. Her cheeks warmed. Her heart raced in fear and confusion. Why would a human smile at her? She wanted to believe it meant something, but her mind told her not to trust. The children kept playing, their laughter louder than ever. None of them noticed the human watching the girl in the shadows. None of them cared, but for Lyra, the world had shifted. The man slowly reached into his bag. His hand moved with care, as if searching for something. Lyra watched from the corner of her eye. She did not know what he was doing. Her body tensed, ready to run. Then he pulled out a small piece of wood, a scrap of metal. His fingers worked quickly, shaping, twisting, adjusting. He crouched near the wall but did not step too close. He did not want to frighten her. His hands moved with quiet patience. Lyra could not look away. Curiosity began to push against her fear. What was he making? Why was he making it here? Why for her? The sound of the other children faded from her ears for the first time. Her eyes were not fixed on them, but on him, on the strange human who did not laugh at her. The man finished. In his hand was a small toy, a spinning top made of wood and metal. Simple but strong, he placed it gently on the ground. Not in her hands, not forced, only placed it where she could see. He gave her one more smile. Then he stood and walked away a few steps. Leaving the toy behind, Lyra's chest rose and fell quickly. Her eyes locked on the spinning top. Her mind fought between fear and desire. Her fingers trembled. The playground was still filled with laughter. But in that small corner, something new was waiting. A gift, a question, a choice. Would she pick it up? Would she dare? The human glanced back once. His eyes calm, steady. Then he turned away, blending back into the busy street of the colony. Lyra took one small step forward. Her heart thundered in her chest. The toy lay on the ground, shining faintly in the light. Her hand slowly stretched out, and in that moment, for the first time, hope touched her heart. Lyra stood frozen, her small hand hovering above the spinning top. The toy lay still on the dusty ground, its wooden edges rough but carefully shaped. It did not look like the toys the other alien children carried, but it looked alive. Alive with meaning. She glanced around quickly, afraid someone had seen. The other children were still laughing, chasing each other with sticks and balls. None of them cared about her. None of them noticed the human's quiet gesture. Her eyes darted back to where the human had stood. He was walking away now, his bag swinging on his shoulder, blending into the crowd of workers moving through the colony street. But just before he disappeared, he turned his head slightly, his eyes met hers. Only for a breath, a fleeting second, Lyra's chest tightened. She had never felt a look like that before. It was not cruel, not mocking, not filled with pity. It was steady, calm, as if he was saying without words, "I see you." She pulled her hand back quickly. Hugging her arms around herself, her mind shouted warnings. No one gave her gifts. No one smiled at her. No one ever meant well. She had learned this the hard way. And yet, her heart betrayed her. It whispered that maybe this human was different. Maybe his glance was not empty. Maybe his smile was real. The toy on the ground seemed to call to her. The wood caught the light, the metal piece shining faintly. Lyra swallowed hard. Her small feet shuffled closer. She bent down, her long fingers brushing the dust. She picked it up. The top was light, smooth in some places, sharp in others, clearly made by rough hands. But made with care, she held it tightly, afraid it might vanish if she let go. A memory stirred. She remembered once, long ago, when her mother had promised to buy her a toy from the market, but that promise had never been kept. Life had grown harder, crueler. Her mother worked endless hours, her father gone, and Lyra had been left to stand alone. Forgotten in every crowd now, out of nowhere. A human stranger had given her the very thing she had once wished for. It made no sense, and yet it was real in her hand. She placed the top on the ground and gave it a nervous push. To her surprise, it spun, wobbling at first, then finding balance. Turning in small circles for the first time in so long, a tiny laugh escaped her lips, soft and quick, like a secret she was afraid to share. But her laugh did not stay hidden. One of the alien boys running past caught sight of her. He slowed, eyes narrowing. His sharp voice rang out, "Look, she has something." The game stopped. The other children turned. Their laughter shifted into cruel grins. They marched toward her like a pack of hunters. Lyra froze, the toy spinning beside her feet. Her joy shattered in an instant. The familiar fear returned, pressing heavy in her chest. The tallest boy sneered, "Where did you steal that from?" His friends joined in. "She always watches us because she's jealous. She's nothing. A broken thing." Lyra's hands shook. She wanted to say it wasn't stolen. She wanted to tell them it was given. But her throat locked, no sound came out. The children circled her, pointing, laughing. The toy stopped spinning, falling onto its side in the dust. One boy reached down as if to snatch it away. Then something unexpected happened. The human had not gone far. He had been watching from the edge of the street. His steps carried him back toward the group. His voice was calm but firm. "It's not stolen." The children froze. Their alien eyes blinked, staring up at him. Humans were often ignored, treated as lesser, but there was weight in his voice that made them hesitate. He walked closer, standing tall. His shadow fell over Lyra. She looked up at him with wide eyes, her small frame trembling. He glanced down at her once more, then back at the other children. "She didn't take it," he said again, softer this time. "I gave it to her." The silence that followed was heavy. The children shifted uneasily. Some of them muttered, some scoffed. But none dared to reach for the toy again. Lyra's heart pounded. She clutched the spinning top against her chest. The warmth of his words stayed in her ears. She had never heard anyone defend her before. Not once in her life. The tallest boy sneered one last time. But his voice cracked. Why would a human care about her? He spat on the ground and turned away. The others followed slowly, their laughter gone, replaced with whispers. Lyra stood in shock, her knees felt weak. The human stayed quiet for a moment, letting the children leave. Only when the crowd thinned did he kneel down, keeping his distance so she would not be afraid. "You don't have to hide," he said softly. His voice was low, gentle, carrying no demand. Only kindness, Lyra wanted to answer. But the words stuck. Instead, she lowered her gaze. The toy in her hand spun lightly as she turned it. Her lips curved into the smallest smile, a fragile thing but real. The human noticed, his eyes softened. He gave a small nod, then slowly stood. He did not press her with more words, he only left her with that moment, that gift. Lyra watched him walk away again. Her heart pulled between fear and wonder. His glance, his smile, his words, they all lingered inside her like a secret flame. For the first time in her life, she felt the world might not be as empty as she had believed. The playground grew quieter after the human's words. The children, who once circled Lyra like wolves, had drifted away, some muttered under their breath. But none dared to snatch the toy again. The tallest boy glanced back once, his pride wounded, but he walked off, hiding his defeat in silence. Lyra remained still, her small body trembling. Her hands clutched the spinning top tightly to her chest. She did not know whether to feel safe or afraid. For the first time, someone had stood for her, not with cruelty, not with pity, but with a strange kindness that left her breathless. She lifted her eyes, searching. The human had stepped back. Giving her space, he did not demand thanks. He did not force her to speak. Instead, he only gave her a nod, a small gesture that carried weight she could not understand. Her heart raced, beating in uneven rhythms. She wanted to hide, yet she wanted to follow him. She wanted to know why. Why a human, a stranger, would care at all. The toy in her hand seemed heavier now, not because of weight, but because of meaning. It was not just wood and metal. It was proof that someone had seen her. Someone thought she mattered enough to give something of his own hands. She crouched down and placed the toy on the ground again. Her small fingers gave it a push. The top spun, wobbling at first, then finding its balance, circling smoothly across the dust. Her eyes widened, wonder filling her face. The top spun as if alive, as if carrying the human's quiet promise. For the first time in many cycles, her lips parted in a smile. It was a small smile, fragile, hesitant. But it was there. The sound of laughter from the other children still floated in the air. But it no longer cut into her heart like before. She had something now, something they did not. Her smile, however, did not last long. A few of the children noticed her again. Their eyes narrowed, their whispers returned. Why would a human waste time on her? She is nothing. She is broken. Lyra's chest tightened. Fear tried to pull her back into her shell, but then her fingers tightened around the toy. She looked at it again, and the fear trembled but did not win. The human had stopped at the edge of the street. He watched silently, his gaze calm, steady. When their eyes met again, Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest. It was as if he was telling her without words, "Don't let them take this from you." She bent down once more, spinning the top again. This time as it spun, she laughed softly. The children scowled, some turned away. Others shook their heads, but she did not care as much. The toy spun, and with it her heart spun too. Free for a moment, hours passed. The playground began to empty. Parents called their children home. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching across the colony walls. Lyra stayed near her corner, spinning the top again and again. Each spin gave her courage, each spin reminded her of the glance, the smile, the human's voice. When the last of the children left, silence covered the playground. Lyra sat on the ground, her legs tucked beneath her. The toy rested in her lap. She turned it over in her hands. Studying the rough edges, the marks of work, she imagined the human shaping it. His strong hands careful as they built something just for her. Her chest filled with questions. Why would he care? Why would he notice her when no one else ever had? Was it only chance, or was it something more? As the night lights of the colony flickered on, she stood slowly. She clutched the toy close, pressing it against her heart. Her steps carried her toward the small home she shared with her tired mother. For once, her walk did not feel so heavy, but even as she walked, the memory of the children's cruel laughter lingered. She knew they would not forget. Tomorrow they might mock her again. Perhaps worse, but this time she had something they could not take away. When she reached her door, she hesitated. She did not want to explain the toy. She did not want her mother to ask questions she could not answer. So she slipped inside quietly, hiding the spinning top beneath her blanket. That night, as she lay on the hard bed, she held it close, her eyes closed. But her mind replayed the day again and again. The human's steady voice, the gift left in the dust, the glance that had seen her when no one else did. Her lips curved into another small smile before sleep took her. For the first time, her dreams were not of loneliness, but of light, of laughter, of hope. The next morning, she woke with the toy still in her hand. She touched it gently, afraid it had been only a dream, but it was real. The wood and metal were warm from her grip. Her heart stirred again when she stepped outside. The playground was already filling with children. Their voices were loud, their games already starting. For a moment fear rose again. Should she hide? Should she stand in the shadows as always? But then her hand tightened around the toy. She remembered the human's eyes, the weight of his kindness, and slowly, she took one step toward the open ground. The playground awaited, and so did her choice. The morning sky was pale, painted with thin clouds that stretched across the alien colony. The playground filled with noise once more, children shouting, their voices rising like a chorus of energy. Balls bounced, feet raced across the dusty ground. Joy seemed to belong to everyone. Everyone but her. Lyra stood at the edge again, this time with something hidden in her hands, her fingers wrapped tightly around the spinning top. The small gift that had changed her night. She wanted to use it to see it spin again under the light, but her heart pounded in her chest. Fear held her still. She remembered the human's glance, the warmth in his eyes. She remembered how he had stood for her when no one else did. Those memories gave her a thread of courage. She stepped forward slowly, not hiding behind the broken wall as usual. But closer to the open ground, the children noticed. Their laughter faltered for a moment. Eyes turned toward her, sharp and watchful. Whispers ran through the group like a spark. There she is again. She has that thing. The human gave it to her. Lyra clutched the toy tighter. Her throat went dry. She wanted to turn back, to disappear into the shadows, but something in her refused. She bent down, placed the top on the ground, and gave it a push. The top spun beautifully, circling fast and steady. The light caught its edges, making it glow. For Lyra, it was magic. For the other children, it was a mark, proof that she had something they did not. Their laughter rose, but it was no longer the laughter of play. It was cruel, cutting, crueler than the sharpest blade. "Look at her," one boy shouted. "She thinks she's special now." Another girl mocked. "Does she think a human makes her important?" The circle formed around her again, their footsteps heavy, their voices loud, their faces twisted with scorn. The tallest boy stepped forward, sneering, "Show us how it spins again, little nothing." His words dripped like poison. Lyra's hands trembled. She tried to hold the toy close, but one child lunged, snatching it from her grip. She gasped, her heart breaking. The spinning top flew into their hands, tossed between them like a worthless object. Each time it moved further from her reach. Each time their laughter grew louder. Tears welled in her eyes. She chased after it once, only to be shoved back. Her knees scraped against the ground, dust sticking to her skin. The children roared with laughter. "She's crying," one shouted, "like always." Her small body shook. She pressed her hands to her face, but the laughter pierced through. The toy, the gift, the only thing that had ever been hers, was now just another game for them. Then a shadow fell across the playground. The human had returned, his steps firm, his gaze steady. He had been walking past, but the noise, the cruel voices drew him back. He saw Lyra on the ground, her tears hidden behind her hands. He saw the children tossing the toy, mocking, cruel. He stopped at the edge of the circle. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "Enough," the laughter stumbled. Some of the children froze. The tallest boy scoffed. "Why do you care, human? This is not your place." The human's eyes narrowed, his voice deepened. "It is my place when you hurt someone who cannot fight back." He stepped closer. His height cast a long shadow over the children. His presence felt heavy, not with anger, but with quiet strength. The toy was thrown into the dust near his feet. The children hesitated, shifting uncomfortably. He bent down, picked it up gently, wiped the dust away with his sleeve. Then he turned and knelt near Lyra, holding it out to her. Lyra lifted her head slowly, her cheeks wet, her body shaking. When she saw the toy safe in his hand, her breath caught. Her fingers reached out, trembling. She took it back as if it was the most precious thing in the world. The human gave her a soft nod. His voice lowered so only she could hear. "It is yours. Don't let them take it from you." Her lips parted, but no words came, her eyes wide and wet. Locked on his for the first time, she felt not only seen but protected. The children shuffled back, their laughter gone, replaced with silence. They had expected him to ignore her, like everyone else did. But this human was different. His calm defiance unsettled them. One of the children whispered, "Why would a human care?" Another muttered, This is wrong. Their voices carried doubt, doubt that spread like cracks in stone. At the edge of the playground, an alien elder had been watching. His eyes old and knowing, he had seen the way the human stepped forward, the way the girl's broken spirit found light in a single gift. His expression hardened, then softened, as if weighing something deeper. The human stood tall again. His gaze swept across the children. His tone was simple. Kindness is not weakness. The words lingered in the air, heavy, unshakable. The children looked at one another. Unsure, the elder turned away, his steps slow, whispering under his breath. Perhaps the stories were true. Lyra stood clutching the spinning top. Her tears still fresh, but something new shone beneath them. A spark. She had been mocked, torn, broken again. But someone had given her strength to stand. Her smile was faint, but it was real. The cruel laughter no longer echoed as loud inside her heart. For the first time, she was not completely alone. The playground had fallen into uneasy silence. The children, once bold with cruel laughter, now shuffled their feet. Their mocking voices had vanished, replaced by nervous whispers. At the center of it all stood the human, tall and calm, his shadow stretching across the dusty ground. Lyra clutched the spinning top tightly. Her small hands trembled, but she would not let go for the first time. She felt the warmth of safety beside her. The human had returned her gift, and with it, he had given her something greater, courage. The tallest boy scowled, trying to hide his fear. Why do you protect her? He demanded. She's nothing. She's not worth it. His words wavered, but his pride pushed them out. The human's eyes narrowed. He stepped closer, his voice even, but heavy with meaning. She is worth it, he said. Every life is worth it. Every child deserves kindness. The words struck like a stone into still water. The ripples spread across the circle of children. Some frowned, some lowered their heads. The power of those words unsettled them in ways they could not understand. Lyra's eyes lifted slowly. She had never heard anyone speak for her like this. Not once in her life. Her chest tightened, not with fear, but with something strange, something new. It felt like hope. The human looked at the tallest boy again. Strength is not in making others small, he continued. Strength is in lifting them up. The children shuffled back, some muttered under their breath. Their certainty cracked, their cruelty weakened. They had expected the human to be like the rest, silent, uncaring, but he was not. At the edge of the playground, the alien elder still watched. His eyes narrowed with thought. He stroked his long chin slowly, whispering words no one could hear. His gaze lingered on the human, then on the girl. The tallest boy, his pride wounded, spat on the ground. Humans don't belong here, he hissed. This is not your world. The human did not flinch. His voice stayed steady. Maybe not, he said. But kindness belongs everywhere. The air grew heavy. The children no longer laughed, their eyes shifted, some filled with doubt, some with shame. The circle broke apart. One by one they turned and left, their footsteps fading across the dusty ground. Now it was only Lyra and the human. The silence that followed was deep, broken only by the hum of the colony's machines in the distance. The human crouched, his eyes softening. He looked at Lyra, not down on her, but at her level. You don't have to be afraid anymore, he said. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Her voice was trapped, as it always was, yet her eyes spoke, wide and wet with tears that were no longer just of pain. The human gave her a small smile. This toy, he gestured to the spinning top in her hands, is yours. It will always be yours. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Lyra clutched it tighter. A small sound escaped her throat, barely a whisper, but it was real. It was the beginning of her voice. Before she could say more, a shadow moved. The alien elder stepped forward. His presence quieted even the air. His long robe brushed the ground as he approached. His eyes sharp, ancient, carrying the weight of authority. The human stood slowly, straightening. He met the elder's gaze without fear. You, the elder said, his voice deep, have broken an old rule. The children who had lingered at the edge froze. Their eyes widened. Whispers spread like sparks. The elder's words were not casual. They carried weight. The human tilted his head slightly. What rule? He asked calmly. The elder's gaze shifted to Lyra, then back to him. You stood for one who was meant to stand alone. Lyra's chest tightened. Her small hands shook. She had heard of this before, though never spoken so clearly. There were unspoken laws in the colony. cruel traditions that marked some children as less, ignored, forgotten. She had always been one of them. The human's jaw clenched, his eyes hardened. "Then your rules are wrong," he said. His voice did not rise, but it struck with quiet strength. The elder's brow furrowed. For a long moment, silence hung heavy. Only the hum of machines and the beating of hearts filled the air. Then the elder spoke again, his voice softer. "Perhaps," he said, "or perhaps you have changed more today than you realize." He turned, his robe sweeping across the dust, his steps slow but deliberate. As he left, his final words echoed, "You may have changed her destiny." Lyra stared, her heart pounding, her wide eyes lifted to the human. She did not understand the elder's meaning, but she felt the weight of it. The human looked down at her once more, his expression calm, steady. "No matter what they say," he said, "you are not nothing." Her small lips trembled, a tear slipped down her cheek. But this time it was not only from pain, she whispered, her voice weak but clear enough to be heard. "Thank you." It was the first word she had spoken to him. The human's eyes softened, his smile grew warmer. "You're welcome," he said. The toy spun again in her hand. The air felt lighter. The cruel laughter of the children was gone, replaced by something new. For the first time, Lyra felt that maybe she was not invisible. For the first time, she dared to believe she mattered. The colony's nightlights glowed softly, casting long shadows across the streets. The playground was empty now, but in Lyra's small home, the spinning top rested beside her pillow. She had not let it out of her sight since the human gave it back. It was no longer just a toy, it was her proof that someone cared. When morning came, she woke early. Her heart still carried the memory of his words. "You are not nothing." She whispered them to herself as if they were a secret spell. She held the top tightly before stepping out into the new day. The playground was already alive with voices. Children chased each other, parents shouted reminders. The laughter still cut the air, but today it sounded different to Lyra. It did not feel as sharp, as heavy. Her eyes searched the crowd until they found him. The human was working near the colony's supply crates. His strong arms lifted heavy boxes with ease. Sweat glistened on his brow, but his movements were steady, calm. Every so often he paused, glancing toward the playground. When Lyra noticed, her chest fluttered. He had not forgotten her. He still looked to see if she was all right. That thought alone gave her courage. She walked slowly toward the open ground. Her toy clutched in her hand. The other children saw her. Their whispers began again, cruel and sharp. "There she is. Does she think she is special now? Her friend is just a human." Lyra's steps faltered. Her throat tightened, but then she remembered the way he had stood between her and their laughter. She remembered his calm voice, the strength in his words. She bent down and spun the top again. The toy whirled across the dust. Circling gracefully, the light caught its edges, making it shine for a moment. All she saw was its spin, its balance, its beauty. Her lips curved slowly, and for the first time, a real smile spread across her face. The children noticed, some gasped, others frowned. They had never seen her smile before. To them, she was always the silent shadow, the broken one. Now, with a simple gift, she looked alive. The tallest boy scowled. "Don't smile." "You have no right," his words were harsh, but they could not erase the glow on her face. From across the street, the human saw it too. His lips lifted slightly, his heart warmed at the sight. It was the smile he had hoped to see, not forced, not hidden, but true. He set down the crate and walked slowly toward the playground. His steps careful, his presence calm. The children stiffened when they saw him approach. Some stepped back, but none mocked as loudly as before. He stopped near Lyra, crouching so his eyes met hers. "That's better," he said softly. "That smile suits you." Lyra's cheeks warmed. She lowered her gaze shyly, but her smile remained stronger now. She spun the top again. This time not just for herself, but for him to see. The toy danced across the ground, faster, steadier. It spun as if it carried the heartbeat of this strange bond forming between them. The human chuckled softly, nodding in approval. But not everyone was pleased. From the edge of the playground, a group of alien adults had gathered. Their expressions were hard, their whispers sharp. "The human is changing her. This cannot be allowed. He breaks our ways." Their words carried weight. They were not just parents, but leaders. Voices that guided the colony. Their eyes burned with suspicion. Their gazes fell heavy on Lyra and the human. The tallest boy's father stepped forward. his voice deep and stern. "Human," he called. "You interfere where you should not." The human rose slowly, his face calm, his voice steady. "I only offered kindness," he replied. "Is that interference?" The man's eyes narrowed. "She is marked. She is meant to stand alone." Lyra's heart pounded. She knew these words. She had lived them her whole life. They were the unspoken rules that chained her, the cruel law that kept her apart. Her hands shook. She wanted to hide again. But she looked at the human instead. His jaw tightened. His gaze did not waver. "No one is meant to stand alone," he said. His words were simple, but they struck like fire. The group of adults murmured. Some looked uneasy, some looked angry. One elder stepped closer. "Your kindness is dangerous, human. You stir what should remain silent." The human's voice deepened. "Then silence is the cruelty," he said, "and I will not be part of it." The air grew tense. The children stopped their games, the adults whispered sharply. The colony leaders exchanged worried glances. But in that heavy moment, Lyra found her courage. She stepped forward, her small frame trembling but her voice clear. "Please," she said, the single word cutting through the noise. The crowd fell silent, all eyes turned to her. It was the first time she had spoken in public. Her heart raced, her knees weak, but she held her ground. Her eyes lifted to the human and she smiled again. Wider now, real and strong. For the first time, her smile was not hidden, not stolen but given freely. The human's eyes softened. He placed a hand gently over his heart in respect. Lyra's chest swelled not with fear but with pride. The leaders stared, their faces unreadable, their whispers dark, but no one could erase what they had seen. The girl who was once silent had spoken, and she had smiled, and it was because of him. The playground was no longer just a place of laughter and games. It had become a stage. A crowd of children and adults stood in silence, watching the small alien girl and the human. The leaders whispered among themselves, their faces hard, their eyes sharp. Lyra stood trembling, yet her voice had broken through the silence. Her single word, "Please," had reached every ear. It was soft, but it carried the weight of her years of loneliness. It carried the truth of her suffering, and the courage she had finally found. The human remained beside her, his presence strong but calm. He looked at the leaders with steady eyes, refusing to back away. His voice was low, but each word carried power. No child should be forced to stand alone. One of the elders stepped forward, his robe dragging across the dirt. His face was lined with age and pride. "You have broken our order," he declared. She was meant to remain apart. "It is how balance is kept," the crowd murmured. Some nodded, some frowned. Lyra felt their gazes press against her like stones. She wanted to shrink back, but then she remembered the human's words. She remembered the gift in her hand. She looked down at the spinning top, still resting against her palm. Her small fingers curled tighter. She lifted her head, her voice shaking but real. "I don't want to be alone anymore." The words spread through the crowd like fire. Gasps followed. The children stared, wide-eyed. Some of them whispered, "She spoke? She never speaks." The human's eyes softened. He knelt beside her, speaking loud enough for all to hear. "You see, she has a voice, she has a heart, and she has the right to smile." The elders stiffened, their faces dark, but before they could reply, the alien elder who had watched from the beginning raised his hand. His voice, calm but heavy, silenced them all. "Enough." The elder stepped closer. His ancient eyes studied the girl and the human. For a long moment, the air itself seemed to hold its breath. Then he spoke. "The rules were made to keep order, but sometimes order becomes a chain." He turned his gaze to Lyra. "Perhaps this human has shown us what we forgot." The leaders exchanged uneasy glances. Their whispers sharpened, but none dared to speak against the elder. His voice carried too much weight. The tallest boy, who once mocked her the loudest, now stared at the ground, his arrogance gone. His father pulled him back silently, their pride wounded, their voices muted. Lyra's chest lifted and fell quickly, her eyes wide with disbelief. For the first time, she was not being told to be silent. For the first time, someone powerful had stood against the cruel rules that bound her. The elder nodded slowly. "Human," he said, "you may have changed her destiny, and perhaps ours as well." The words echoed, leaving the crowd stunned. The human gave a respectful bow of his head, but his voice was steady. "I only did what was right." Lyra turned to him. Her lips trembled. Her small voice broke through again. "Thank you." He looked down at her, his eyes warm. "You never have to stand alone again," he said. Her heart swelled. The spinning top slipped from her fingers onto the ground. She pushed it with her hand and it spun brightly, faster than before. This time she did not watch it in silence. She laughed, a pure laugh full of light. The sound carried across the playground, so bright that even some of the children who once mocked her smiled without meaning to. Her joy spread like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. The human smiled too. His chest warmed at the sight. This was the moment he had hoped for. The moment her sadness cracked open and let hope pour out. The crowd began to disperse slowly, some still whispered, but their words no longer cut so deep. The elder remained silent, his thoughtful eyes on the pair, as if he saw something greater unfolding. When the ground finally grew quiet, only Lyra and the human remained. She looked up at him with wide, shining eyes. Her lips curved into a smile, the first true smile of her life. It was not a small, fragile smile this time. It was wide, bright, filled with the joy she had always been denied. It was a smile born not from fear but from hope. The human's eyes softened further. He reached out his hand, not forcing, only offering. Lyra hesitated for a moment, then placed her small hand into his. Together, they stepped away from the shadows of the broken wall. Together they walked toward the open ground. For years, Lyra had stood alone, invisible, unheard, unwanted, but now she had a reason to stand tall. She had a reason to laugh. She had a reason to smile, and it was because one human refused to look away.